Hello everyone, I'm back today with another video. This is going to be a recording of my round 2 game from the 2024 North American Championships. This game followed my game against Silverhammer from the previous video in the previous round, where I did get the win in that game, so I started off with 1 win and 0 losses in the tournament. And for the second round, I was matched against Picket, who you might remember from a recent video I played in one of the rounds of the Open League tournament. That game was very lengthy. He played a very strong game against me. Very well near got the win, or at least the draw with time. In the end, he almost had me run out. You can see this game's a lot shorter. It's 8 minutes, so we'll go ahead and get right into it. It's a fun, quick game, a lot different than the previous game that we had played against each other in the Open League tournament. But I had a similar idea in this game as I did in the previous round against Max, except I was going to be aggressive in the center this time, rather than on the left side with my Colonel. But again, I was pretty content to lose my Colonel early on, preferably a trade, but losing for info would be fine. I wasn't really too high on hitting that piece because I figured it'd probably be a scout since we had just traded captains. I didn't figure he'd have 2 strong pieces on both lanes in the center. So I was happy that he moved over and next to my captain that I brought up there. But I take it with my captain. Indeed, it is a scout. So at this point, I was happy to go in with my Colonel with that scout out of the way, wide open center. That's like Christmas morning. That's exactly what I wanted to see with my Colonel. So I go right in, immediately hits me with a captain, and I'm like, oh, well, that's good. Let's keep going. So then I just attack again, and it's his major. So then he threatens me with that piece, and I'm wondering if, well, maybe he's got some strength on that other side of the lake there. So I kind of keep going, find a scout, and then he takes me with his marshal. So we've got some really strong development in this game pretty early on, coming with my Colonel, taking a captain, taking a major, finding the marshal, and I did want a scout. I would have liked to figure this piece out, but he prevents me from doing that, unfortunately, by bringing up, trading those scouts from afar and bringing up that piece to block my second scout. So I wasn't sure if this was like his general, and if, like all his strength was right there, or maybe it was a bluff to get me to go into his marshal. I wasn't sure. I was hoping to find out at some point soon. But definitely a way to blow the game wide open. Getting that captain made me comfortable to just kind of really assert my Colonel and just kind of go for it. The major was really lucky that I actually got like a major, which is of course the best thing you can get with your Colonel out of that. But at this point I figure, okay, well, I'll go ahead and attack elsewhere. Again, my general's a little bit more buried in this game, but I'm not too worried about that. I don't actually feel too much of a need to counterattack with my general. I figure he might be prepared for that. His setup was kind of pretty open at this point. Pretty much every lane accessible except for this one piece right here. And I think the idea of me kind of burying my pieces, despite planning to be aggressive with my Colonels, or at least one of my Colonels, was that I think the goal is to not give too much info up, in the sense that I didn't want to, just trying to charge him with my Colonel, lose that, and then also have my Marshal and General able to be exposed. I would have rather kind of keep info down and keep the fact that I knew his piece. I'm not sure it's the best idea, but it's what I was rolling with in the previous game and in this game. But we do a lot of really meaningless, well, not meaningless, but not super significant play on the side. I take a scout with my sergeant that was chasing my sergeant for a while, takes that with a lieutenant, and I'm happy to just get up all the small pieces I can. So I do just straight up take that with my Colonel. I felt fine revealing that piece because his marshal's already on this side, so I didn't figure a general would be coming down too. And I was fine to be up that piece. I didn't feel threatened. I had a good strength on this side. I was moving up a bit in the center there. I was wondering, I think this was the piece that had chased my Colonel. I was wondering kind of what that was, thinking, could just be nothing, could be Colonel, could be General. The way he was guarding these pieces from my major made me think it was probably something good. So then I come up with my Colonel, and he moves next to me with this piece, and I was immediately going to take that. I didn't think for a second that could be his General sitting here with his Marshal sitting there. And that's just not the piece that you want to bluff a Colonel with. Losing a major like that is really, really rough to, I don't know, to manage. You probably want to use any other piece as a bluff other than a major if you can afford it. But after losing that major, he comes in with a captain, gets a couple small pieces, and I'm happy to take that captain off his hands and out of my side of the board. So I go ahead and chase that piece back. I figure I just discovered a kernel. I guess that could have been the kernel, but based on the way he didn't take it, I figured it wasn't. So I'd like to trade kernels. I do like to get rid of mutually shared info, usually, if I can, just simplify the position. Gives my brain, that's sometimes not so good at memory, less to worry about, and less pieces to defend. But at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about my position in the game. I've got all of his captains off the board. He's got one major left. He's already down half of his lieutenants, and I'm up, I think, literally five pieces to that colonel that I'm down. And I also know his marshal. He doesn't know anything of mine except that major on the left side. So go ahead and keep coming up with my scout. I think the idea was to probably try to just scout this piece if I ever got the opportunity, or maybe something else that looked like it could be good over here. So when he threatens me, I just kind of leave that there. I'm not really sure what to do. Scouts the bomb, but it lets me scout that piece, and it's a colonel. So then I do figure out his second colonel, so the only remaining piece to be discovered was his general then. And that does show me that that bluff that he was having against my colonel was in fact a bluff, because it was a colonel. He would not have been happy if I traded that, I don't think, after taking the major. So I did make the probably slightly better decision for him by going into his marshal. But he was also really defensive with his marshal throughout the game. You can see that so far. His marshal is just camping out here. He's defensive with his marshal, but not defending anything with it. He's just sitting there. At least it made more sense if he kind of rushed over here with his marshal. He says good game there, which kind of made me laugh. It seems like he's already realizing that this game situation's a bit tough to manage, probably. It makes sense if he had kind of run his marshal over here and defended, or if he'd been aggressive with his marshal. I feel like you either need to purposefully defend something with your marshal if it could get revealed in that sort of fashion earlier in the game, or you need to be aggressive with it and actually apply pressure, which could make me uncomfortable. Maybe my setup is not, I'm not really well inclined with how my setup is to defend against a marshal. Maybe you'll be able to have a strong attack. So I go ahead and take that because I realize that the only thing that could be that would threaten me would be a general. I don't think he'd move his general next to several, especially the unknown sergeant, so I just take it. And it's a major trade, which is great, because now has majors off the board. And I hit that. Again, I'm kind of going just suicidal mode with those majors at this point. Because I know there's only one piece that can take out my major, and I'd be fine to give up a major to discover it. But what it ends up yielding is just more small pieces for me, as well as a trade, which was good too. So at this point I realize there's basically no reason for me to not just come up with my general. So I could have moved the sergeant out of the way. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier. I came up with the sergeant initially. Probably should have just moved it to the right and then just up with my general. I think I was a little bit worried maybe about my center being a bit exposed if he decided to be aggressive with that colonel, but that wasn't much of a worry. I didn't think he was gonna get too far. So I move up here with my general to square that, because I know that I was pretty much guaranteed to get it as long as this wasn't his general, or this was his general. But I hit that, and it's a scout, so not much there. Pursue this piece back. He moves up with this piece. I was trying to keep track of what had moved there. I move up with that. Take that, just lieutenant. I realize at this point, this is his plan. That's probably his general. And he's going to come in and try to, lotto or just hit some of these move pieces. And I was a little bit worried, because if he turns the right corner and assumes the right pieces aren't my marshal, he could do some damage. But I retreat there, and then he just runs into a bomb. At that point, he just surrenders. Which, again, just kind of like the last game. I do tell him GG at that point. Kind of like the last game. I feel like there is some usefulness in at least just coming down with your colonel and just trying to hit some more pieces. Or just coming down with your marshal and trying to see if you can get anything done. If you have pieces readily accessible, they're on the board, I feel like it's probably helpful to at least try to do something with them. But at any rate, pretty short game. Only 8 minutes long, and it was a pretty dominant win for me. I think the main thing that hurt him was not necessarily the exchange that we had early on in the game, because my buy material would have been worse if I had traded colonels with him after getting the captain and the major. So it was not necessarily terrible that I went into his marshal, but the fact that he did nothing with his marshal, I think was the main danger for him there, and it really allowed me to kind of control the game and just pick up a lot of small pieces that became too much of a lead. So I was pretty happy with that game. 2 wins, 0 losses for the first 2 rounds. Good start to this tournament. I was pretty happy with that. But I'll go ahead and leave it there for now. Good game to Picket, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.